G'day everyone, welcome to Shane Shed. This is not the original intro I was intending to use for this video, but the original focus on this video was to do a custom EGR cooler line replacement. It hasn't gone to plan, so yeah, rather than throwing all the video that I've done out, I thought I'd collate some of the basics and basically shows a lot of the coolant layout of the hoses for this system. There is still some valid info there. So anyway, let's get into the main bit and I'll see you again at the end. If you're a regular viewer, you would have known that I had a coolant line fail on my disco. So this little T-piece sits at the front of the EGR cooler, well, the line that goes off the EGR cooler. So you can see that section there has failed. There's supposed to be another barb there. Oh, well, before I forget, before we get too into it, I'm going to do a separate video on probably what I think about these plastic joins in the cooling system and what sort of life you probably should be looking at. If you're not a subscriber and you want to see that video, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss when I upload that. And yeah, let's get into it. So, because I have blanked off the EGRs, they're no longer sort of functional, I've decided to bypass these cores. So probably the main reason there is just to reduce the amount of joins and complexity in this system. I'll throw actually once I open the bonnet, I'll throw a little diagram up with the coolant flow so you can see sort of what's going on exactly. But that little T-piece also has the factory temp sensor in it. Now, it's not a standard thread-in fitting, so it's a whack it in and sort of twist setup. Because all this is old, there is actually a little locking tab that comes on the end of this here. In the process of getting that out, that's broken. So we've needed to basically, it would have needed a new temp sensor as well, because there's, apart from that little locking tab, there's nothing else that really holds that in. So I've decided to go a full custom setup. So what do I need in order to do that? So I need to replace the temp sensor, obviously. I'm using a Raceworks unit, so this is a 1/8 BSP thread. This part number is it's Raceworks, it's a CTS 131. It also comes with the other half of the plug, so that's pretty good and it's reasonably priced. So I think I could get this one for under 50 bucks. The other little thing that is needed is off the, I'll show you in a sec anyway when we get into it, but off the engine coolant outlet, the line that originally goes into here is a 22mm, and that stays 22mm. It branches off to the EGRs, but after the EGRs that come out, it narrows down to the 19mm or 3/4. So that poses a problem. So where we get a route into, we need to reduce it down. So I'm just going to choose to just go this. It's an aeroflow reducer. It's a 22 to 19mm silicon join. So we'll just go straight on the engine coolant. We'll go a 90-degree barb, and I'm gonna. This is again an aeroflow product, just a 90-degree 3/4 inch or 19mm barb. The reason why this is actually an expensive little sucker, to be honest, it's probably about 40 bucks just for this one, but there's a reason why I've gone for that and not a cheap one, and that's because, as you can see, it's got a fair bit of meat there. So I'm actually going to drill and tap the 1/8 thread for the temp sensor into this. So yeah, that's why I've gone something like this. There's nothing else that I've really found that would have enough meat in it that would enable you to thread and tap the elbow. The other option is you just go a cheaper elbow, something like these brass fittings here. These things are like under 10 bucks, they're pretty cheap, but there's no thickness to them, so to drill and tap is just not an option really. But like I said, the other option, if you just get a cheap elbow, try and find a joiner like this that's obviously got a bit of meat, the one that's already maybe threaded and tapped for 1/8 BSP. At the end of the day, and cost at the end of the day is probably going to be fairly similar. Might need a couple of extra hose clamps, so I've got those, and just a, let's roll on away, and just the length of 3/4 inch hose or the 19mm. So I'll open the bonnet up and we'll show you what the plan is. Alright, so looking at the front of the engine here, so this original T-piece sat off here from that that little barb there, so it's from your, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, I might need to move the light. There we go, how's that? Alright, that's a bit better. Alright, so there's your coolant outlet, there's the main coolant outlet from the top of the engine, and you had this barb that come off here with the hose. Like I said, factory coolant sensor plugged in right there. You got this line there, goes down to the left side EGR cooler, comes, let me put that down, comes up to this pipeline here, all the way across the engine, goes into this T-piece over here. Alright, so I've already got this one. So this is the other half for the EGR line, goes down to the right side of the engine, into the EGR, up into this T-piece, and then this T's down, comes back around the front and into the bottom half of this this hard piping here, and from there that goes into this line here. Alright, and then that goes into the heater at the back of the firewall. This car has a rear air conditioner unit, so there is another 2 plastic T's here with quick connects on the bottom, and there are some quick connects at the firewall. I don't know if you'll be able to see those very well, but yeah, so they're plastic as well. So yeah, I do hope to replace those plastic components, but well, I will if the engine is okay after this. We'll see. Now, for the moment, like, this job can get as complicated as you want, depending on how far you want to go in removing all this old hose work and whatnot. Now, when this originally let go, I was actually about 5 minutes away from home, so I just made the call just to drive it home anyway. So I don't know if it's done any long-term damage to the engine, but I'm just going to do the bare minimum I need right now, just to get this up and running so I can run a few tests and see how it's going. So I'm going to strip all these clamps off, because I actually like these a lot more than the worm style jobbies, and we'll reuse what we can there. We're going to have to cut this factory plug off. I'm going to give it probably about halfway there, just so if I need to rejoin it later on, I've always got it. And we're going to basically solder the new plug onto that wiring. So fairly simple. We'll throw this the reducer on here. Obviously we'll probably have to shorten it to get it tucked in nice and close, and then the 3/4 inch hose can go off to the back. And I'm going to, I don't know if you can see it from there, but you can. I'm just going to go for the T-piece into this one here. Well, not the T-piece, sorry, just the hose joiner here. But what you could do later on is, it's just pretty inaccessible. There's that bit of flexible line goes to a hard pipe down there. So this is just a bit easier spot to join it up to.
2 hours later.
So now we're going to have a look at the finished product. So you can see we've done our modified temperature sensor, shortened up our 22 to 19 reducer into that elbow. Obviously that's some of the original pipe work, so that will be out of the way. So that runs basically down the side of the engine and back up into this piece here. So you can see where that hose was originally into, just that bottom hard line. So like I said, I'll remove that later on if everything checks out okay. Okay, so if you made it through this far, you're probably wondering what the problem is. I mean, it all looks pretty good. Probably something worth noting as well, as you may have seen, I haven't removed all the original pipe work, and that's because, like I touched in the video, I'm a little bit unsure of if there's going to be maybe possibly a head gasket damage done, especially after just running it home. Initial indications at the moment look okay. but I'll keep you posted on that later on. Where was I? The issue. So, like I said, everything looks good. It's that damn temperature sensor. So, stupid me, when I was looking up these temperature sensors, I basically just looked at the 5 to 0 volt range. It looked pretty similar, but on further deep dive into it, the resistance on the new sensor is completely out of whack. So it's a lot lower resistance. So the factory one is in the kilohertz by range. Kilohertz. I'm thinking of my work stuff. Kilo ohms range. This one is a lot lower, down in like single digit ohms resistance. So like at 25 degrees, the coolant temp, or 20 to 25. So at like 20, 25 degrees coolant temp, the car's actually showing up like 90 degrees. So it's not right. I need to come up with a better scenario. I was kind of, the whole reason why I went to the custom setup in the first place was to get rid of some of those, well, at least I was getting rid of one plastic fitting where the temperature sensor goes into, which is that sucker there. Unfortunately, look, that little unit, from what I can find, is not available on its own. So that's a pain in the ass. It comes with all the rest of the hoses for it. And like I said, because I don't have or I'm blanked off the EGRs, I don't really want to run the coolant through them anymore. And especially, I think one maybe have a slight leak as well. So that's another reason to bypass it. Yeah, but that means that is a T-piece. Either I still need to do something to blank that side and then use the original coolant temp sensor. So I'm probably going to go to that side, or go back to using this. I guess once I've determined 100% the engine's all right, I don't have to do any further work. Because if I do, well, it's probably getting to that point where I may look at scrapping this car. I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of getting to that point anyway. I'm thinking about going for something maybe a bit simpler. So, I don't know. We'll see. But if you've watched this far, thanks very much for watching, guys. Appreciate all the views, subs, all that stuff. If you're getting a lot of use from my videos, please don't hesitate to use a super thanks. I'd really appreciate it. It's like buying me a beer or a coffee or whatever by analogy you want to use. So, yeah, anyway, it's back to the drawing board for me, and I'll keep you posted with what we end up with. Cheers.